Hello and welcome to this Price of Job tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new Extension Template module. Price of Job is proud to introduce a new category that we've introduced called Templates. And this will make estimations for large projects much easier because rather than having to build the project by selecting each individual module, all the most commonly required modules will now be pre-selected in a template for you. So this will allow you to estimate for a complete building construction, such as a bungalow, house, extension, garage, or garage extension with just a few clicks. And an update that we're currently working on that will be coming soon will be loft conversions. To start with, let's look at the most commonly requested template, an extension. So to access this template, first we'll select the Templates category here in the module toolbar, scroll down the Buildings menu, and select Extension. And then create the module. Now the layout of this template module is a little bit different from the rest of the Price of Job modules, and you'll notice that there are no estimate costs. Just a sketch and a template summary. Here on the right, we have our main stage, and here we can change the building template that we're going to fill out. So if we selected extension by accident, and instead we're going to construct a garage extension, we could change that here. Completing any of these templates is fairly similar in practice, but for this tutorial, we're going to stick with the residential extension, which is our most popular. Then we can select whether this is for a single story project or a double story. And you can see as we make the change that the sketch automatically updates. By clicking the scroll wheel on our mouse, we can reposition this sketch, or by clicking the left click arrow, we can spin our image around to see our project from different views. Here in the main stage we have an eye icon for visibility, and if we want to peek inside of our project, we can make the walls invisible by hiding the walls by deselecting this, and now we can see what's going on inside our sketch with the walls removed. Same with the roof. If we want to remove the roof, but include the walls, now we can see how our project appears with the roof removed. So for now, we'll just keep everything selected and close our visibility window. And then we can start inputting some values. To start with, to keep things simple, let's stick with a single story. And we'll reposition this and scroll in to zoom in a little bit. Now let's input our values. The main parameters that we have here are length, depth, and ceiling height. So let's input a length of 8,000 millimeters, and we can use the slider for this if we wish to. Or if we find it simpler, we can just input an exact value into the number field here. And the sketch adapts to our length. And if we adjust the tilt here, we can see that the measurement of our length is represented here, 8,000 millimeters. Next, let's change the depth to 8,300. And we can zoom out a little to have a better look at this. And again, if we tilt our image over a little bit, we can see the 8300 represented here on our sketch. And ceiling height has a default value of 2400, and we'll leave that the same. And here we're looking at a sloped roof, but maybe for simplicity's sake, just to get started, maybe we'll jump ahead to the roof stage here, and instead of a sloped roof, let's select a flat roof. And this will just simplify some of the measurements as we get into it. And now we can see on the rear of our sketch our ceiling height of 2400. Now if we had chosen a double story extension here, we'd be given an additional field for the ceiling height. In this case, we could set individual ceiling heights for both the ground floor and the upper level. So for example, perhaps our upper level had a ceiling height of 3000 millimeters. You could set that here, and we'd see the changes reflected in our sketch. But for now, let's switch this back to a single story. Next, we can check this foundation box to alter our foundation settings. If you wish your estimate to include the calculations for foundation and walls below damp-proof course, you can leave these boxes selected. Otherwise, by deselecting foundation and walls below DPC, these calculations will be removed from your estimate. For our example, we'll leave these included. Now to view these on your sketch, let's temporarily close this window here and go back to our eye for visibility. Here we can see that foundation is deselected. So even when we have foundation selected in the stage, it won't show for visibility in the sketch. Now it's important to note that by selecting the visibility, this only affects the visibility in the sketch. By hiding the foundation, it only hides the foundation in the sketch, not from the actual calculations of your estimate. So let's leave this selected so we can see our foundation. And if we deselect the walls below DPC, we can see where they are represented here. If we zoom on our sketch, the walls below DPC are represented by this black line here. So let's remove that to C. And there's our walls below DPC. This small layer of turf represents ground level, and we can hide that if we wish to. So now that we have all of our elements selected for visibility, let's close our visibility window and go back to the foundation settings. Next, we can input our excavation depth. And if we select this box, we have a slider that opens, and here we can see our excavation depth represented on the sketch by using this slider. And if we're trying to match an exact measurement here, say we need 1100 millimeters, we can just type that in manually in the field. And same thing for the foundation width. We can use our slider to adjust the foundation width. And in this case, we know our foundation is going to be 700 millimeters. So we'll just input that manually. Then we can see the foundation depth. And again, we'll use our slider just to view the depth of the foundation here on our sketch. But we know we want a foundation depth of 750 millimeters. And lastly, height below DPC. And again, the area below DPC is marked by this black line here. So we'll just slide that back to where we need it to be. And we know we want our height below DPC to be a standard height of 150 millimeters. So now that we've completed our foundation settings, we can close this window and proceed to the next stage, which is walls and floors. Now for walls, we have a variety of wall options. We have a brick and block cavity wall, which would be brick exterior and block interior, or a stone and block cavity wall, which would be stone exterior and block interior, or a block and block cavity wall, which would be a block cavity wall both inside and out. And in the case of a block wall, we have extra options here to render the exterior, have tile cladding, have timber cladding, have cement boards cladding, or no cladding at all with just the blocks exposed. We also have wall options for solid brick. In the case of solid brick, we can choose the wall thickness, including half a brick, 1 brick, 1.5 bricks, or 2 bricks thickness. Or we could choose a solid block style wall. And again, we have options for render, tile cladding, timber cladding, cement boards cladding, or no cladding at all. And similar to the brick wall, we can choose the thickness, either 100 millimeters, 140 millimeters, or 215 millimeters with the blocks laying flat. Or lastly, we could choose a timber stud wall. And for this, we could choose our exterior cladding, either render, tile cladding, timber cladding, cement boards cladding, or none. And for timber wall thickness, we can choose from 47 by 75 millimeters, or the standard 47 by 95 millimeters, 47 by 125 millimeters, or 47 by 145 millimeters. For example, we'll choose a standard brick and block cavity wall. And then here we have some options for our ground floor. We can choose either a solid floor, a timber floor, a beam and block floor, or no floor at all. For this example, let's choose a solid floor. And then we have an option to include insulation or not for our floor, and there may be certain situations where you do not require insulation, for example, if you're building a garage. Let's leave this selected for now. Next, we can take a look at our openings. And if we scroll out here, we can see that our building already has one window. And that would be this window opening here. So if we select that, we can see there are a variety of different openings available, either windows, UPVC doors, composite doors, French doors, sliding doors, bifold doors, garage doors, or empty openings. Let's start with a basic window for now. And then we have a variety of window styles to choose from. Style 1 is just a basic opening, and you can scroll through here to see the various window styles. For this example, let's choose style 20. And then we can set the width of our window. In this case, we'll say 1800 millimeters by a height of 1200 millimeters. And then we can set our bottom offset, and this is the height of our window relative to the floor. And if we set our offset too high, you'll see that the window highlights in red, meaning it's out of the allowable range. Where this occurs, this opening will not be included in our estimate. So let's set that bottom offset to 1000, and we'll input that value manually. And then we have our horizontal offset, and again we can use the slider to position this window anywhere we want, and when it moves out of range it turns red. So let's set our horizontal offset also at 1000. And if we're working with a two-story extension, we can choose whether this window is on the ground floor or the upper level. In this case we don't have an upper level, so we'll leave this one on the ground floor. And then here we can set the placement of our window either on the front wall, on the right wall, or on the left wall. So let's leave this one on the front wall. And then we can choose the color style for our window. And we have options here for white, anthracite gray, black, chartwell green, golden oak, Irish oak, or rosewood. Let's just leave this one set at white for now. And we can close this window. Now let's add another opening. And for this example, let's change our building to a double story. We'll just jump ahead for a moment to the roof to change the roof style from a flat roof to a gable style. And now let's select this new window and we'll put this in the upper level. So for this one, we'll just choose a basic window style number 1. And we'll make the width of this one 600 millimeters by 400 millimeters high. And then we can position this one on the upper level and adjust the bottom offset of this to 4000 millimeters and the horizontal offset to 3600. And that gives us a small window for the attic. Now let's close this window and add another opening. This time opening number 3. This time we'll choose a door, and let's choose a bifold door. And with this we have an option here for the hinge placement, where we can specify whether we want this to be a right hinge or a left hinged door. And in the sketch we can see the placement of the door handle moving as we change the placement of our hinge. We'll leave this as a left hinge door. And now if we wish, we can change the color of our openings. Let's change this one to green. And we'll close this window and go to window number 1 and change that to green. And close this window. And maybe window number 2 we've decided we don't need after all. We can remove that by clicking the bin icon here on the right. And that removes this opening. And let's change our building back to a single story. Next, let's take a look at the roof stage here. For roof, we have a variety of roof styles. We can choose either a flat roof, a front sloped roof, a side sloped roof, a gable wall roof, and this is when the gabled roof meets a flat wall, a hip wall roof, and this is when a hip roof meets a flat wall, or a gable valley roof, which is used when the new gable roof will meet an existing sloped roof, or a hip valley roof, which is used when a new hip roof will meet an existing sloped roof. And then for each of these styles, there are a variety of different roof coverings. Let's start by taking a look at the flat roof. And here we have options of either using a GRP covering, a torch-on felt, or EPDM. If we've selected any of these sloped roofs, then we have many more options, including Ludlow, Mendrip, Double Roman, Ludlow Plus, Modern, Duo Modern, Anglia, Wessex, Plain, or Slates. Next we can set the pitch of our new roof. Here by using the slider, we can see the various changes as we adjust our pitch. We'll leave this set at 25. Now if we're building our new roof against an existing sloped roof, say for example Gable Valley here, then we'll have a new field here for the pitch of the existing roof. And again here we can use the slider to adjust the pitch of the existing roof. So let's leave this one set also at 25. Then we have measurements for our soffit width, and we can use the slider here to see the effect of expanding the soffit width or decreasing it. Let's leave the soffits set at 200 millimeters. And then also the gable width. And again, we can use our slider to see that here in the sketch. And we'll leave that set at 200 millimeters. Next, we can select the fascia and soffit. We have options for either UPVC, timber, or none. We'll leave this set for UPVC. And then we have a section here for roof windows. First, you can use the quantity selector here to select the number of roof windows. Say there are 3. And then select the drop-down arrow to choose the style of roof window you wish to add from the Price of Job library. In this case, we might choose MK12 780s by 1800s. Now you'll notice that these roof windows do not appear on the sketch, and this feature may be added in a pending update. But rest assured that by including these windows here in your roof stage, that they will be included and calculated within your estimate. For now, for simplicity, we'll leave this set to 0. Then we have checkboxes here to select whether or not we'll be including rainwater goods in our estimate, and this would include gutters and downpipes. Then we can choose to either include or remove roof insulation, and again, if you're designing an extension for a garage, you may not require this, but for now, we'll leave it included. And then for the interior, we can select whether this will be a vaulted ceiling or a flat ceiling. By deselecting vaulted, it will be a flat ceiling, so let's leave this deselected for now. Then we can move on to the finishes stage. Then here we can select our wall finishes. We have options here for either plastering, dot and dab walls, plasterboard on battens, or plasterboard on studwork. Or we can select none for unfinished walls. For now, we'll select plastering for the wall finish. And then same for ceiling finishes, we have options for plasterboard lining, plasterboard on battens, plasterboard on resilient bars, or suspended ceiling, or none for an unfinished ceiling. Let's select a suspended ceiling. Next, we can choose the ground floor finishes. We have options here for either tile, laminate, carpet, engineering or solid wood, vinyl floors, or no flooring at all. In this case, we'll select engineered or solid wood. And then for decorating, we can select whether there will be no decorating at all, or painting of the walls and ceiling, painting of the walls only, or painting of the ceiling only. For example, we'll choose painting of the walls and ceiling. And then for the carpentry stage, we can select whether we'll be requiring any stud walls for the ground floor. If we want some interior walls, then we can select the stud walls drop-down menu, and instead of none, we can select stud walls 47 by 95. And then we can select the total length of our interior stud walls. In this case, we might have 16 meters of interior walls. And if we're not sure the length of our interior walls, we can use the perimeter calculator here to help calculate the length of our walls. So if it's a simple straight wall, we can choose the straight line. If it's going to be rectangular by 2 sides, we can set those measurements here. Or for irregular shaped walls, we have a variety of shapes that you can choose from. To set your wall measurements, just choose the shape that's most appropriate, and then set your measurements here. We'll say 6 meters by 4. And Price Job calculates the length of walls that will be required, and saves that to your perimeter calculator. You can close this window and at any time return back to your perimeter calculator and click the edit icon here to see your calculations. For now, we'll leave that set at 16 meters. And if we were working on a 2-story house, let's just change this to double story, an extra field would be added here for stud walls for the upper floor. So here we could select stud walls for the upper floor and then input our values there the same way. For now, we'll just leave this set as a single story, which removes that second field. Then we can select the number of internal doors we require. Here, let's say we need 2 interior doors. And then here we can select whether we want to include architraves, which is the window and door trim, skirting boards, which protect the base of the wall, and window boards, which are the shelf under the window, which protect the wall finish. And the final stage we have here is for extras, and here we can select if our project will require a soakaway, and this is generally required if you have an extended roof area and may be required by building control. We also have an option for selecting scaffolding for scaffolding rental costs, and we have a checkbox for building control fees. And now that we've input all of these measurements, Price Job has generated this sketch for us, which we can view from 360 degrees. As well as this detailed summary, which has all of our calculations for foundation, including excavation depth and concrete volume of 12.6 cubic meters, walls below DPC, letting you know that you have an outer skin of 24.4 meters, external walls with an exterior area of 61.8 square meters, your roof pitched at 25 degrees, with all of your measurements for fascia, soffit, barge board, eaves, ridges, valleys, and slates, right down to the slate count of 1951 slates required, as well as finishes showing your ground floor area of 58 square meters, wall decorating area of 139.5 square meters, stud wall plastering area of 70 square meters, walls decorating area and ceiling decorating area, and carpentry, letting you know the total area of ground floor partitions, which in this case is 38.4 square meters, and this is calculated by 16 meters of interior walls multiplied by a ceiling height of 2400 millimeters, as well as the total length of skirting boards and window boards and architraves and number of internal doors. When all of your inputs are complete, you can scroll to the top of the main stage here and click the Build Modules button. And now the system will build all of these necessary modules, reducing what would normally take hours of work within Price a Job to just a minute or two. And now all of these modules have been calculated and added to the left sidebar. You can click the module arrow to see the details of each of these modules, or go to the top of this sidebar and select the Extension Template module here to reopen the Template module. If you need to add any extra modules, you can do so. Let's spin this sketch around. Let's add a wall opening into the main house. So here we can add a module manually. Let's go to the module toolbar here at the top of our screen, and we'll select the Openings category and select a wall opening and create this module. And let's create an opening of 4 meters width by 2.1 meters in height, and adjust our settings as required by the structural engineer. And this wall opening is added to our calculation. Now, if the customer requires any changes, like for example, perhaps they don't want concrete floors, we have an option to either delete this module here from our sidebar, and we can do that by clicking the 3 dots here on the module options and deleting this module, or we can go back to our extension template and then under the walls and floors category, deselect the ground floor by choosing none. And now the concrete floors will be removed from the calculation. Or perhaps we need to change the foundation width. So let's open the foundation box here. And foundation width, let's set that to 600 millimeters. And maybe building control wants us to change the excavation depth to 1,300 millimeters. Now when we're done making our changes, we can go back to the top and click Build Modules, and the system will only need to recalculate the modules that we changed. And this will just take a couple of seconds. And now that we've done so, you can note that the concrete floors have been removed from our estimate. And perhaps we need to add another opening, so we can go here to the opening stage and click Add Opening, and then open the window options here. And let's set an offset of 2200 millimeters and move this to the right wall and change that to green. Now when we close this, we can build the modules, and only the required modules will be recalculated. And again, this takes just a few seconds. Now, using Price a Job modules to calculate your estimates had already reduced days of work down to a few hours, but now with the introduction of these Price a Job templates, it's reduced hours of work down to just a few minutes. If you wish to delete all of your template modules, you can click the 3 dots here beside your template module to open the options menu, and you can select Delete Template Modules, and this will remove all of the modules that were included in the template, but would not delete the wall openings which we added manually. And it also would not remove the template itself, which you could then recalculate. Alternatively, if you wish to delete the template itself, you could click Delete Template, which would delete only the template here, but would leave all of your modules remaining independently. And you can see that Price a Job has organized each of these modules by categories. Here we have modules for site work, for substructure, for structure, and finishes. If you choose to, you can select View by Rooms here, and this will organize all of the modules by the room assignment, which is currently assigned to the extension template. All that is except for the wall openings, which we added manually. To add these wall openings to the extension category, we can select the 3 dots here to edit this module settings and change the general location to extension. And close that window. And now we can see that the wall openings have been added to the extension folder. And Price a Job also allows you to create multiple templates at once. For example, now that this house extension is done, perhaps we need to create a garage. To do that, we just go to the Templates category here at the top, open the Buildings subfolder, and select a garage. Then we can create this new template and fill out all of our garage settings, and then build the modules when we're done. And in just a moment, all of those modules are added here to our estimate. And if we scroll down, we can see that because we have the modules selected as view by rooms, that all of the modules for the garage have been itemized here under the garages folder. All the modules for extension are under the extension folder, which is a convenient way of keeping your subcontracts compartmentalized. Now, if the customer decides not to go ahead with the garage, we can go up to the top here and select the 3 dots for the garage template and delete the template modules and confirm the deletion. And now we can see that all of the garage modules have been removed from our estimate. But the garage template itself still exists. So to remove the template, we can click the 3 dots again and delete the template to remove the garage template and confirm. And now the garage template has been removed as well. And now if you choose to add any extra modules, like additional walls or perhaps electrics, here let's just add some extra pendants. We'll say 20 pendants and 30 sockets. Those additional modules will be added here to the left under the general category using the edit button to assign this to the extension folder. And doing it like this, you can add as many modules as you need. When you're done, you can select the Reports tab here, and Price a Job will generate a detailed quote including the template summary and a breakdown for each of the various modules. And you have options to show the subtotal for each of the various stages, or you can display a subtotal here at the very top of the quote. At the very bottom, you can choose to show or hide the total, and select to show or hide the details of the materials, labor, plant and tool, or other costs for each of the various stages. If you prefer, you can just show a simple structure, or use Advanced to have complete control over displaying the description, materials, labor, plant and tool and other costs, pricing, units, and at the bottom you have the option to include or hide the notes field. When you're done, you can print this report or export it as a PDF, or export it as a Word document, or email it directly to your client and contractors from within Price a Job. And that's how to use the new extension template. Thank you for using Price a Job.